So this is going to keep going, apparently. Not long after the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, DHS has arrested another student involved in Columbia University protest. Korda is the name, Palestinian from the West Bank, according to DHS. Department of Homeland Security has arrested a second student who was involved with Columbia University protests, the agency announced. Leqaa Korda, correct me if I'm wrong with pronunciation, but we'll give you the backstory. Arrested by agents from Homeland Security Investigations for allegedly overstaying her expired visa. It terminated January 26, 2022. She was also allegedly arrested in 2024 for her involvement in the protests, according to DHS. ABC News filling in the details for us. That arrest comes nearly a week after plainclothes immigration and customs enforcement officers arrested Mahmoud Khalil, green card holder, who was also involved in the protest at Columbia University. Now, the agency said another student involved in the protest, Ranjani Srinivasan, an urban planning student at Columbia, an Indian citizen, used the CBP Home app to self-deport, which is what I would suspect some in the Trump administration want done anyway, although they might prefer marching people out in front of the cameras and being a little more vicious. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem issued this statement. It is a privilege to be granted a visa to live and study in the United States of America. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said, when you advocate for violence and terrorism, that privilege should be revoked, and you should not be in this country. I'm glad to see one of the Columbia University terrorist sympathizers use the CBP Home app to self-deport. Federal agents with DHS also searched two Columbia University student residences that happened Thursday night. They did not arrest or detain anyone there. In a statement, Columbia President Katrina Armstrong said the DHS agents had two search warrants signed by a federal magistrate judge authorizing them to enter non-public areas of the university and conduct searches of two student rooms. Now, I am writing heartbroken to inform you that we had federal agents from the Department of Homeland Security in two university residences tonight, Armstrong said in the statement. No one was arrested or detained, no items were removed, no further action was taken. Columbia University president there. Now, this comes not long after immigration and customs enforcement agents arrested Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, leader in Columbia University's encampment movement, claiming that his student visa had been revoked. According to ABC News, Trump administration officials have said Khalil was detained for his purported support of Hamas. Baher Azmi, one of Khalil's lawyers, called his client's alleged alignment with Hamas, quote, false and preposterous. But here it is. Now, Brown medicine professor and doctor also deported. We've learned this time to Lebanon. That despite having a valid visa, court filings claim. A doctor and professor was deported after she returned from a trip to Lebanon despite having a valid U.S. visa, according to a court petition filed on her behalf. Dr. Rashad, an assistant professor of Brown medicine, held an H-1B visa when she traveled to her home country to visit her family. That's according to the petition, which was filed in federal court by a cousin who learned of her situation. NBC News also on the story. Court documents allege that upon returning to the U.S. at the end of last week, she was held at Boston Logan International Airport for 36 hours before she was sent back to Lebanon this weekend in violation of a federal judge's order to halt her deportation. The initial petition Friday claimed Customs and Border Protection had detained her without any justification, during which Alloway had been uncontactable, unable to access legal counsel. Now, it doesn't end there, we should tell you. We said it's going on and on. The White House also ignored a judge's order to turn back deportation flights. Keep them in the air, keep them en route. And by the way, we're going to pay millions of dollars in order to do this. Trump administration says it ignored a Saturday court order to turn around two plane loads of alleged Venezuelan gang members because the flights were over international waters, and therefore the ruling did not apply. that from two senior officials telling Axios that. Court order defied, first of many. As I've been warning, start of true constitutional crisis. National Security Attorney Mark Zaid, Trump critic, wrote on X, adding that Trump could ultimately get impeached. By who? Who gonna check me, boo? Okay, like, I mean, I understand in
He's
real
already been
times.
impeached.
I mean, come on, he's been impeached. And remember Susan Collins? I think the president's learned his lesson. You know, Susan, stop it. Okay, here we are again, and he's even worse this time. White House welcomes that fight. This is headed to the Supreme Court. Remember, they've captured the court. And we're going to win, a senior White House official told Axios. Second administration official said Trump was not defying the judge, whose ruling came too late for the planes to change course. I'm not so sure about that. The third one, huh? Very important that people understand we are not actively defying court orders, unless we are. I added that last part. Okay, Jackson, so this, I suspect, is no surprise to those who have been actually watching, analyzing, and anticipating the latest moves by President Donald Trump. What say you about all of this, including the professor visiting family and suddenly held for 36 hours, no counsel, and then sent right back to Lebanon?
Well, overall, this is just another opportunity for America to demonstrate its stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict that's been waging for decades. Under the Biden administration, students who were protesting were arrested, and many Democrats in both the Congress and the Senate condemned them for demonstrating their First Amendment rights. And there's no real argument to be had about the mistreatment of the Palestinian people, particularly by Netanyahu, and just our continuous assistance for them to do so. It doesn't matter who's in office, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, Israel's going to get its billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies. So, this is definitely unfortunate, but it's not, this in particular is not something that's really unique to the Republican Party. The Republican Party got they got their things that they really stand strong on, but this is bipartisan. And also, I'm pretty sure the Trump administration just took away like $400 million worth of grants from Columbia University as punishment for their student body protesting in favor of Palestinian lives. So they're really ramping it up. And then, on one hand, you pretend like you're sending these students back or getting them arrested for the greater good. But then on the other hand, Donald Trump pardons all the January 6th protesters, or rioters rather, who, literally defecated inside of the halls of Congress. And, police officers were assaulted. They free. So, this is very arbitrary, but just another day in America.
Well, the president would say apples and oranges. He doesn't like violence, Jackson, unless he likes violence. Okay?
Yeah, unless he does.
Unless he does.
Right.
And here's the thing to all those people who say, oh, let the courts handle it. This is why we have the three branches, the courts and the stopgap. One of the planes at least took off after the judge's order was entered. The Trump administration, various people, you have the press secretary saying, well, no, the written order versus the verbal order that said turn the planes around, that all matters. We don't know that they're both binding. Others are saying, well, listen, when the written order came in, it didn't say the specific part about turning the planes around. Anyway, you cut it, it's defiance. Because then, there was another quote from the court. If they've already left, I don't have jurisdiction anymore. So what is going to stop this guy? It's ridiculous, right, to talk about impeachment.
Right, and he's already been impeached. I mean, the only thing that really can stop this dude, honestly, is if he keels over. I mean, that's the truth, because Donald Trump, the only reason he really was running this go round was to avoid prison, and he successfully did that. Now he's a dog that finally caught the car. And he doesn't really, other than retribution for himself, he doesn't have a plan. He's just golfing and BSing like he always is. So his administration is fully loose. He has less constraints and less guardrails, less people telling him no around him this go round. and it's really a ship with no captain.
Yeah.
This man has no interest in the job, and but people like Donald Trump live forever. So I know a lot of people are saying they don't think that he's going to make it through these 4 years, but he probably going to live to be like 105 or something. Surviving off McDonald's and narcissism and pettiness.
Well, narcissism, hell of a drug. But accurate, okay? There are some who would argue that he has no interest in the job, only this personal revenge tour. You see the billionaire who immigrated from South Africa, then Canada, and then ended up ours. Just doing whatever he wants to do as Tesla goes
Right.
down the toilet. But yeah, Donald Trump doesn't seem that enthusiastic about the job. So I picture behind the scenes, you have Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, a few other cronies who are saying, you know what? We're going to do whatever we want. And he's not stopping that. Perhaps he's busy taking a Diet Coke break, a hamburger, as you said. I don't
Spied
know.
at McDonald's.
I'll give you the last word.
Imagine being so privileged that you just bored with being the most powerful person on the planet. You just like you wake up and complain like, it's not fair. Like you just got away with 91 felonies and you just not satisfied with anything. Like that is the definition of misery. Or Elon Musk, it's like he on kid number 28 that we know of. And he's just like, that's not enough. Richest man in the world, it's not enough. And he's tanking his own wealth now, which I guess it's about time because
you can do that when you have more than $98 in the bank, like most Americans. Okay, most Americans have probably less. They're living paycheck to paycheck or running at a deficit. But when you have just gobs and gobs of money, okay, I will fact check the children. I believe he only has half. I think has 14, but the team will.
Well, 14 that we know of, but you got to round that up and multiply by 3 when it comes to Elon Musk.
Is that what you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to have many children, many children.